Hello, I'm Archbishop Jeremy Greaves from the Anglican Church in Southern Queensland, Australia. The violence of the world fills our feeds and screens day after day, and it can be exhausting and numbing, manifesting in many ways. And while our lives are being simultaneously shaped by the violence we personally witness and experience, violent images assail us from every side. Our news feeds, social media feeds, movies, outdoor advertising, and some days it feels like we can't escape from it all. Even when we hear the gospel call to be peacemakers, we can feel overwhelmed by the enormity of the problem, and the temptation is to throw up our hands in despair, feeling powerless to do anything. And yet, each of us can do something to begin to change the prevailing culture of violence and begin to build a culture of peace. In Australia, much has been written in recent years about the national crisis around violence against women. The figures are horrific. 27% of women have experienced violence or emotional and economic abuse by a cohabiting partner. In the first 4 months of this year, nearly 30 women were killed by intimate partner violence, 11 more than at the same time last year. Building a culture of peace in our churches, in our families and in our communities is the beginning of a change in this culture of violence. The experts tell us that this violence is perpetuated by attitudes, perceptions and behaviours that are reinforced in people from a very young age, particularly among men and boys. It is these things that need to be challenged and changed if peace is to reign. Professor of Psychology David Boninger says there are two important and interrelated things we can all do to build a culture of peace. He says we should slow down and we should work to build real human connections. Slowing down, he says, is about seeing people properly, seeing every other person as uniquely human and created in the image of God, so that we can build real connections with them and journey beyond polarisation. When we move quickly through our world, we perceive the world as we expect to see it, based on our stereotypes, prejudices and unconscious biases. We then simply perpetuate what we already believe. And we do it automatically and frequently and unknowingly, because we like labels. We like neat categories of them and us. The knee-jerk agree, disagree, the black and white, the quick taking of sides. This is the polarisation of today, and this digital age, in which app users can instantly swipe right or left on their phones, mindlessly perpetuates this polarisation. The challenge is that slowing down takes conscious effort. It's hard because we have to overrule our automatic tendencies to quickly and easily slap on labels. Slowing down also means noticing properly the attitudes and behaviours of others and constructively calling out those things that perpetuate violence. As I've reflected on how I might do my part in building a culture of peace, I've had to consider whether I've done enough to challenge the language or behaviours that perpetuate unhelpful or even violent stereotypes. I know that there are times when I've missed opportunities because I've been afraid or simply failed to respond quickly enough in the moment. I've also learnt that sometimes even a gentle challenge can create just enough space to slow things down and allow time for someone to begin the work of rethinking their long-held attitudes. And of course, this is not just a once and for all time thing, because the work of building a culture of peace takes patience, sometimes slow and often hard work, as we bring a new lens to every encounter we have with another. In the Anglican Church Southern Queensland, we recently invited synod members to sign a cross-sector pledge committing us to working to end domestic and family violence. Hundreds of Anglicans have signed it to demonstrate our commitment to change. You see, even the act of writing a signature is a moment to slow down, to reflect, and to be challenged to change. But there are plenty of other things we can do as well. The challenge for followers of Jesus is to be active peacemakers in an often violent world, to participate in establishing the kingdom of God on earth as in heaven, a kingdom of peace and love and justice. This will always mean standing against violence in all its forms. Just as we condemn the violence unfolding in theatres of war across the globe, we must also clearly condemn the violence or persecution of any group or individual and work towards healing and hope. We need to slow down, to pause, to really see the other so that we can break the cycles of violence that feed fear and lead to increasing polarisation. We need to create a culture of non-violence that builds peace upon peace. When we can look one another in the eye and realise that they, like us, are created in the image of God, we are one step closer to peace and we will be blessed. Jesus said, "Blessed are the peacemakers. Blessed are those who are willing to break the cycles of violence and fear that keep us from each other and from God."